Newstalk Sports 94.9 WSJM, live here at Dickinson Stadium in St. Joe, where St. Joe comes away with a 39-37 win over Mattawan. And St. Joe led this game the entire way. They could just never pull away from this Mattawan team.
Yeah, there was times when it looked like St. Joe was going to take care of it, get up 2 or 3 touchdowns, dominate. And then they just kind of let Mattawan hang around. And we've got to credit Mattawan. They could have been down 3 touchdowns early, and they didn't. And it came down to a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
For St. Joe to win the game. But
also a couple of missed field goals for Mattawan, too.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, a couple of them. And their kicker was the best kicker I've seen in the conference. At times St. Joe can dominate, and then at times they play to the level of their competition. Mm-hmm. And that's something I know the coaches are working on to try to get eliminated. The one thing you can't argue with is St. Joe's offense. Again, over 530 yards of offense.
We had nearly 1,000 yards of total offense by both teams tonight.
Yeah, that was over 1,000 yards. It was 1,006. So, just a big-time game. Jamami was a good quarterback. They ran a 4th and short. It looked like they had him wrapped up.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's through the middle, and he's off for a 45-yard touchdown.
And nobody sees him, too, because everybody's looking at the pile.
And those are the things. St. Joe still at times is not tackling as well as I know they would like. They're allowing quarterbacks like him to break containment, which then he had a pretty good arm, too, where you can either run or throw, and then you kind of put your defense on their heels. Probably the biggest help was the interception on that first drive of the ballgame by Hudson. He got the interception, was tipped, I think, by one of the Bears. He got it. St. Joe gets the ball at the 30-yard line. They put it in, and that really is a difference if you look back throughout the game.
You mentioned Mattawan's kicker being the best kicker. He was a huge weapon tonight because every St. Joe drive, other than that interception, started at the 20-yard line.
It did. And when you have a kicker that can place it in the end zone, they have to go 80 yards in high school is tough. And St. Joe was able to do that quite a few times. But, the main thing is St. Joe had to win this game.
Yes.
There are games you have to win, and this was one. And with all due respect, this was a have-to-win game for Mattawan.
Yeah.
They will not make it in at 4-5. They had a chance at 5-4. St. Joe did not want to lose this because the chances of going 4-5, 5-4 get pretty great, and then you hope you get in the playoffs and you're on the road. St. Joe they do control their destiny. They're going to go up to Battle Creek Central, which is a much better Battle Creek Central team than we've seen in the past. Yeah. They could be 5-2 at the end of tonight.
They're playing 3-3 Kansas Central, the oldest rivalry west of the Allegheny.
That's right. And going back to the game here, Malone had no touches in the first half. He got, in that second half, he had 12 runs for 77 yards. That seemed then to open up the other part of the offense, too. And I think that's the important, is the diversity that St. Joe has in the backfield to be able to get there. I thought LeClaire did a good job running the offense again. I thought, Edway had a good catch, had a good catch. Hopkins did, too. And, you can't argue what the offense is doing to put up 39, 40 points a ball game. The defense just has to get a little bit tighter. It's not a lack of effort. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just have to be able to make those plays when you need it.
Is it like St. Joe had trouble with the wing from Edwardsburg? They had trouble last week with the single wing from Portage Northern, and this is a very similar kind of offense for Mattawan tonight. Is it just this offense that gives St. Joe trouble, or is it something that just needs to be worked on?
Well, I think a little bit of both. It's pretty similar to what Niles runs. It's maybe style offense, but they throw a lot more out of it. St. Joe seems to have more difficulties with run-dominated teams. They gave up 280 yards of rushing, 476 on the night. And part of it was, on the option offense, they were committing too quick to the quarterback, and then it left the open for the pitch. Or they were going at him so hard, and he's a really good agile quarterback, like Griffin's is over at Lakeshore, and he then could decide which way you wanted to go. Sometimes you have to do containment, where you're not being overly aggressive and trying to tackle him in the backfield. You're trying to keep him in front of you, make him commit to a side, then your defense, which is already flowing to you, can catch up and bring him down.
I think is under pressure tonight, he threw some amazing passes.
He did. He's a good quarterback. I'm not sure who grade he's in. I can't remember. But I thought he did a really good job. And, this is a Mattawan team. If you look at their schedule, they lost to a big team out of.
They lost to Lowell.
Lowell, which is a big
Yeah.
school out of Grand Rapids, Portage Central and Portage North.
And they opened up when they lost to Vicksburg.
Yeah,
so
Vicksburg's not a bad team this year.
So St. Joe improves to 4-3. They go to Battle Creek Central next week. What do we need to see from St. Joe next week going to Battle Creek Central? Other than a win, we know, because we need the win for playoff bound.
Well, Battle Creek Central has a quarterback. I think this is his third or fourth year. I think it's his third year. And so you're going to have to contain him. He started as a freshman. And they probably have a solid running game. And St. Joe's got to contain the running game of their opponents in order to be competitive. And then, St. Joe's offense has proven that they can score. The key is you can't turn it over. And definitely cannot turn it over on your side of the field. But, that's the longest bus trip of the season. And St. Joe needs to go there and take care of business in the first quarter and put Battle Creek Central on their heels. Tonight for Battle Creek Central will be very important for what happens next week. If they beat Kalamazoo Central, they're going to come in pretty fired up against St. Joe. If they don't, they're going to start talking about basketball season.
One thing that I think we need to see more from St. Joe is consistency in scoring the point after touchdown.
Well, I agree with you. It's the first one didn't make it. Snap got one of those screwy. The holder got it on the tee a second late, and then the kicker just was slow in attacking it because he had to stop his route and pick it back up. But I agree with you because we're not doing well on 2-point conversions.
And you're leaving points off the board, and Mattawan was within 2 points tonight.
Yeah, and that's what it came down to, right? I mean, the field goal that they missed, which was a long field goal, don't get me wrong.
But he was perfectly capable of hitting it.
Oh, he had a leg. It just went wide right. This could have been a very sad night for St. Joe. And instead, it's kind of like the White Sox. Remember, they called it winning ugly, which has been a long time ago.
Yeah. They're just ugly.
Yeah, and they don't win. And so tonight's just one of those games where a lot of wouldas and couldas, not as good as what you want, but at the end of the day, it's still victory. Locker room's in a lot better mood than if it was a loss. You put yourselves at 4-3. You put yourself in a position of 26 in the playoff power points. They'll probably move up to 20 to 22 this week. Somehow, again, if they can win next week and pull off what would be the biggest upset against Portage Central, finish at 6-3, they'll host. If they end up at 5-4, I think St. Joe's in, but then they're on the road. Most likely, then it'll be probably back at Niles.
St. Joe coming away with a 39-37 win over Mattawan tonight at Steve Elton Field at Dickens Stadium. Bret Witkowski, Jill Cordes, I'm Dave Wolf. Bears on the road next week at Battle Creek Central. WSJM will be on the air at 6:30. For Joel, Brett, I'm Dave. Dave Wolf, WSJM Sports.